It's Gemini and Cancer season. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. It is your month ahead astrology forecast, and in this video we are diving into the month of June. Just a quick reminder, this is a forecast that is geared towards business owners, so not every single transit happening in June is going to be talked about here, but instead the ones that I think are important for business owners or any transits that might impact the collective in ways that will impact a business owner. If you want to hear every single transit that happens, head over to my Instagram or my TikTok, where every Monday I create a post where we dive into each and every transit happening for that week. If you want this information emailed to you on a monthly basis, make sure you sign up for the newsletter. Link is in the description below, where you'll get this video emailed to you, or if you prefer to read everything or read along via blog or written form, there's a link to the blog post as well. Starting the month off strong, we have a Jupiter trine Pluto transit. Now, Jupiter transits we normally feel for 2 to 3 weeks, give or take a week on each side of the exact transit. And Jupiter and Pluto are both outer planets, so I get a little bit excited about these kinds of things. This transit happens on June 2nd. This transit is a lovely transit that brings expansiveness through depth and intensity. And I know the word intensity often has a negative connotation, but let me just reel it back a little bit. Passion is intensity. We can create intensely. If we're super determined, that can be intense. So intensity isn't always bad. Tension, yeah, that's a little bit different. Same root word, but a little bit different. As a Scorpio rising and someone with Pluto in my first house, I love intensity. I'm here for it. Let's live passionately. Pluto, like I said, which is all about intensity, when it's forming a trine to Jupiter, it offers a harmonious opportunity for expansiveness and optimism and going in depth. So that can be, like I mentioned, with passion, an intense feeling of empathy, or even an intense feeling of spirituality. With Jupiter, it tends to focus more on our growth. Philosophy is in there as well. Jupiter trine Pluto can offer a time of transformation and renewal. Pluto rules our psyche and our subconscious, while Jupiter rules growth and optimism. It's a lovely time for going deep, which is often required for integral personal growth. And this transit offers personal growth, not necessarily in a slap you in the face so you better learn kind of way, like we normally do with squares, but a trine is more of a harmonious conversation between these two planets. So maybe it's about finding a new revelation or understanding a new perspective. Maybe you're watching a TV show and something comes up, you're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. It's something that really impacts the way that you think about something. With this transit, we might get a surge of energy, especially towards things that make necessary and profound changes. With Jupiter being on the more optimistic and abundant side, it does give us a little bit of opportunity for financial security, or I want to say financial success instead of security, because security implies that it's maybe more long-term. So that might be, a project that comes up that has a big price tag on it for you if you're a service-based business. Jupiter also rules justice, and Pluto rules power dynamics. This could be a small, influential step towards balancing out some power distribution. That's a long journey, though, for humans in general. So I wouldn't expect anything super drastic to happen. But it could just be a little step on our way to that. Maybe not at all. The energy is available there if we as humans want to take it. As for business owners, it's a really good time to revitalize your offerings if you're looking to do that. It's also a really good time to look into your leadership skills and strategies. If you have employees or staff, it's a really good time to look inward and think about the power dynamics that are created or you have created, and maybe just check in with them. Maybe take a leadership course or maybe read a leadership book. There's lots of valuable insight that you're going to be a lot more open to during this time. And I think your employees will really value a change up in the power dynamics if they aren't serving them. On June 3rd until June 17th, we have Mercury entering the sign of Gemini. Mercury loves the sign of Gemini because it rules the sign of Gemini. Gemini has a lot of Mercury qualities. There's a lot of overlap. So what this means is that basically for the next few weeks, we're going to get a double down of Mercury energy. Gemini rules social interaction, curiosity, duality, the twins, writing, and communication. All things that Mercury loves. Mercury has to do with communication, the way we learn, the way we process, the way we communicate, all of those things. So Gemini just puts a little bit of a focus on learning new things, how we communicate with others, being a social butterfly, things like that. Gemini tends to get a little bit of a bad rap because it can be two-faced. However, I really appreciate Gemini energy because it's duality, right? It's both and. It's two things at once. Two opposing things can be true at once. Gemini can see both sides of things. So I really like Gemini energy. Because our mental energy and curiosity is heightened, it's a wonderful time to focus on learning a new skill. If there's a course you've been wanting to take or adding a new skill set into your bank, this is a great time to do so. You might feel more excited to learn about these things and delve into all the little nitty-gritty details. You might move a little faster as well as you move through these things. As for business owners, like I mentioned, now is a great time to learn a new thing that might help benefit your business. Or if you have a course or some sort of guide or something that teaches somebody something, now is a really awesome time to promote it, maybe more so than other times. Maybe run a promotion or a sale or a flash sale or something like that to get people interested. I think that potentially more people will be clicking yes to courses and things that teach them something new. It's also a really great time for technology advances or upgrades. Streamline your operations by leveraging the digital tools available to us. If you haven't looked into some automation platforms or some ways of organizing things digitally, or there's a million apps out there that help you streamline something, figure out what's taking a lot of time in your day and is draining your energy, and look into seeing if there's some sort of software or app or online program that can help you do it a lot faster. Implementing that during Gemini season might go a little bit more smooth than outside of Gemini season. On June 4th, we have Mercury conjunct Jupiter. This transit brings expansiveness into the way that we're thinking and communicating. I think the conversations that we can be having right now can be really insightful. I would absolutely use this energy to network. Talk to other people in similar businesses, see what you can learn. They may have a solution that you've never even thought of before, and it really could help bring you a lot of growth. This transit enhances what I talked about before about learning something new, because with Jupiter being about growth and Mercury being about how we learn and Gemini ruling curiosity in general, all of these things together, it's just a really juicy time for learning. Jupiter is the bigger picture and Mercury are the little details. So you may grasp concepts faster because you can see both a little bit more clearly under this transit. As for business owners, this is a great time for launching a new campaign or creating a new campaign because your communication is on point. It's very concise. Your communication is very expansive. It's very optimistic. So use that to write really good copy or creative writing or branding, anything like that. I feel like it's a really great time for that. The other thing is that Jupiter is the planet of opportunities. So just leave yourself open to opportunities. Astrology is a two-way street. Always, just because it's there doesn't mean, it's going to happen without you putting a little effort into it. It can sometimes, but generally, especially with Jupiter and its opportunities, if you leave yourself open and you're looking for opportunities, then when it brings you opportunities, you can meet it halfway and be available. If you have your head down and you're not looking out, you're going to miss the opportunities that might be right in front of your face. On June 11th, we have Mars square Pluto. Do I love this transit? Not really. This can be a particularly aggressive transit. Mars rules the way that we assert ourselves, and Pluto rules our survival instincts. And when we're feeling threatened, our survival instincts, when they're threatened, we get super defensive. And when Mars is in the mix, that defensiveness can become pretty aggressive. Can be. However, this energy does bring a surge of energy, hence the aggression. But if we're aware of this ahead of time, we could channel this energy into something a bit more constructive. For example, relentless ambition. So if we have a project to focus this energy on, it really could get us somewhere we need to go. It might be a little challenging on the way, but it can give us that energy we need to persevere through the challenges. I do want to say it is really easy for that relentless ambition to turn into obsession. So set timers, take breaks, check yourself, get a second opinion from somebody, do whatever you need to do to stay balanced. As for business owners, this transit does bring up conflicts, especially those with power dynamics. If you're somebody who has employees or you're directing staff, tends to be conflicts with authority figures. So just be aware of that and be super kind, super supportive that day to avoid any sort of blowout or anything that may backfire. On June 16th, we have Venus squared in Neptune. Another square, which is a transit that brings a little bit of tension. And anytime that we have a square with Neptune, anytime we have Neptune in general, it's going to bring confusion. Anytime we have a square with Neptune, it's going to bring confusion that brings frustration. Venus square Neptune can bring frustration towards our relationships, towards our finances, towards our value systems. Neptune knows no bounds. I just feel like things can get a little icky in terms of maybe people going too far, taking too much from each other. It can also, especially since Venus has to do with finances, we might overspend. So if you have a tendency of doing that, like me, stay off online markets, don't go to the store, just stay back for this day and a couple days around it just to make sure that we're not spending, or only take cash and exactly how much cash you need to spend. Neptune also has us living in a fantasy world sometimes. So when that brings in relationships, it kind of, like a situationship. So really check in with that other person or journal or check in with somebody else who can see the relationship from a third outside perspective. Just be aware of that. Also be aware of any insecurities that may come up during this time. Don't necessarily need to take action on them right away, or maybe do if you feel called to, but you don't have to. Just notice them. As for business owners, on and around this day, make sure you're not making super big decisions, especially financial decisions, because you might not have all the information you need to fully make that decision until a couple days later. So if you can wait a couple days to make an investment, I would absolutely do that. Also, same goes for if you're getting into a new relationship, maybe working with a new contractor or something like that. You can give it a day or two. Just do that to make sure that you aren't living in some sort of facade about this person or this, professional relationship. Make sure there's no illusions when going into a new relationship. The very next day, on June 17th, we have Mercury squared to Neptune. Mercury and Venus are just about to meet, so they're going to be making a few of the same transits during this day. So, like I mentioned before, with Neptune, we get confusion, illusion, fantasy, things like that, a little bit of spirituality as well. However, when we bring Mercury into the picture, that confusion is geared towards communication, learning, processing, our minds, and thinking. So it is an opportune time for misinformation and confusing communication. Any copy that you're writing, any marketing materials, anything that you're writing, newsletters, things like that, if you need to write them on this day, that's fine, but definitely get somebody else to review it, run it through ChatGPT if you need to, or whatever you use to edit your stuff, Grammarly. Run it through something or someone else if you have to publish it that day, just because it's very easy for that concept to get misconstrued. Even if you wrote it really clearly, somebody could take it a different way than you intended, which is always true, but it's a higher chance of that happening with this transit. Also, with both of these square Neptune transits, our sensitivities are heightened. So any of us that get overstimulated very easily, me, make sure you have your coping skills or tools on hand. Noise canceling headphones, fidget toys, all that stuff. If you need to have a few dance breaks or go outside, whatever you need to do, take them, because it's gonna get overstimulated faster than usual. Just after the square to Neptune, Mercury then moves into the sign of Cancer. It will be here from June 17th until July 2nd. Mercury in Cancer has us thinking and communicating about our emotions. Cancer is the cardinal water sign, so we're going to be initiating things regarding our emotions. Cancer is represented by the crab, who wears his home on his back. So Cancer also represents the home and the family, and it also brings a protective energy into the home and family. And when I say family, I don't necessarily mean, that can mean so many things. Maybe that's you and your pets. Maybe that's you and your roommates if you're really close, you and your friends. Whatever the sense of family means to you, whatever makes you feel at home, those kind of vibes. If you have a business or products that focus on enhancing the home, whether it's home organizing or maybe nice candles or anything like that, really play into how this betters the home, and I think that your messaging will go really far. As for other business owners, getting very personal with your communications during this time, I think will go very well with your customers. Now is a great time to tell your personal story as to why you created your business. Assuming you created your business out of maybe a personal need, tell that story. Get super personal as you're willing to get anyways, but people will want to be hearing that right now. Definitely don't make things up, because Cancer brings a heightened sense of intuition, so people are going to be able to see right through the bullshit. On that same day, Venus also enters Cancer, where she will be from June 17th through July 9th. As I mentioned before, Cancer is the energy of the home, family, protection, emotions, and when Venus goes over there, that turns our focus of relationships, financial security and stability, our value systems towards the home and our family, and being a provider essentially, or thinking about how we're providing for our household, for ourselves, for our families. There will be a connection of our emotions and feeling financially stable, or not even financially stable, but things that make us feel stable and secure. Folks may be more attuned to bringing beauty and harmony into their home, be starting a new home project, painting something, or even a home renovation, some sort of home upgrade. For business owners, this is a really great time to build personal connections with your customers. How can your customers feel at home when they come to your store, or when they're going through your website or reading your newsletter? How can it feel really comfy and nurturing in those spaces? If you have employees, have you created a nurturing work environment? And if not, how can you? Ask them. But only if you're willing to take on the suggestions and the changes that they're asking for. Not all of them, but if you're just going to say no, and if you're just doing it to see if you're doing a good job or not, like, that's not really the point. Open the doors and be willing to meet them halfway. Finally, again on June 17th, Mercury and Venus catch up to each other and they become conjunct in the sign of Cancer. Communications may be pleasant, harmonious, diplomatic. The charm is absolutely up. So again, it's another great time for socializing or networking. This transit also brings artistry into our expression and thinking, which makes it a really good time for engaging in creative projects or expressive writing. It also brings finances to the top of the mind. And with them meeting in Cancer, we're going to be looking at, like I mentioned before, financial stability. We might be really interested and focused on creating a plan that provides. As for business owners, this is a really great transit for creative thinking and just creation in general, especially if we're geared towards creating heartfelt campaign or heartfelt newsletter. The energy is available to you to create aesthetic marketing assets or just nice looking social media posts, whatever it may be. As I mentioned, it's also a really lovely transit for networking and financial negotiations because the communication is really clear. A few days later, on June 20th, the Sun enters Cancer as well, where it will stay until July 22nd. Happy birthday to all my Cancer folks out there. The Sun entering Cancer continues to bring the energies that I've mentioned before. However, the Sun brings in our mix of our identity, our self-expression, and some life force. It looks at how we might identify with our emotions and gives us a moment to create a new definition or relationship with our emotions. As for business owners, folks are more empathic and have a higher tendency of taking care of one another during this time. So it's a wonderful time to show how your business takes care of its customers. There's a lot of businesses that take advantage, and it would be good, especially for small business owners, to show how yours does not do that, assuming yours does not do that. You can also lean into this by offering ways for your team or your customers to take care of others. So maybe offering some sort of pay it forward opportunity or creating like a family discount or something for loyal customers, something along those lines. Or if you have employees, it's a wonderful time for team building, team bonding, whether it's just an hour or a party or a day or a weekend. It's a great time to do that. Lastly, personal touch it. Like if you are an online business that where people can order from you, adding like a little personal touch in the envelope or like a little note or something like that, that will go really far during this time. If that's not sustainable for your business in the long run, maybe just new customers. I don't know, just give it a go, see how it feels. Maybe it will bring you joy, maybe it will overwhelm you. Either, nix it if it's overwhelming. The last transit we will be talking about for June is Saturn stationing retrograde. This will be from June 29th all the way to November 15th. Now, Saturn, just like the rest of the outer planets, all of them station retrograde every single year. So it's really not that big of a deal. It takes, about 5 months or so to go through its retrograde. So it's happening for a little less than half of the year. It's not that big of a deal. However, I do like to bring it up because Saturn rules our way of discipline, our need for structure, our sense of responsibility, which has a lot to do with business. It's a great time to reassess long-term goals and how your sense of discipline plays a role in that. It's a good time to reflect on past actions in your career specifically and review your commitments and obligations. Determine if they are still aligned with your goals and values. anytime a planet goes retrograde, it gives us a moment to turn inward and be more introspective. So how can you take a more structured approach to what you're doing? How can you practice more discipline? Or where can you let go of discipline a little bit? With this retrograde, we get an extended experience of the transit of Jupiter trine Saturn, which I love. Jupiter and Saturn are kind of like opposite ideas to an extent. Jupiter is all about expansion and Saturn is all about restriction. However, with this harmonious transit, we can learn what there is to gain from setting boundaries, what there is to gain from self-discipline. Acknowledge your needs and take the responsibility that you can to make sure that they get met. All right, y'all, that's all I have for June. Please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Find me on Instagram, find me on TikTok. My handle is in the description below. Also at Expansive Consulting. That's where you'll find a more in-depth interpretation of all of these transits. And it also opens it up to folks who are not business owners. Please subscribe to my newsletter so you can get this in your inbox and never miss a forecast ahead in the future. Thank you for being here and looking forward to seeing you guys next month.